Hey everyone, Red here, and it's time for a rank 1 Deathslinger mindset. Over the past few months, I've really grown to enjoy this killer, and it's been a ton of fun of learning some of the crazy shots that he can actually pull off. I've experimented with tons of builds of what I like the best, but lately this is what I've been playtesting with and enjoying. Corrupt Intervention. The entity will block off the 3 farthest generators from where you spawn for 2 minutes. Pop goes the Weasel. For 45 seconds after hooking a survivor, I will be able to kick a generator and reduce its progress by 25%. Oppression. When you damage a generator, up to 3 other generators will begin regressing as well, and if a survivor is working on one of those generators, they will be faced with a difficult skill check. This perk also has an 80-second cooldown. Monitor and Abuse. When not in chase, our terror radius will be decreased by 8 meters and the field of view increased by 10. This goes away when in chase and you instead gain 8 meters in the terror radius. Of course, run whatever add-ons you enjoy the most or that fits your playstyle. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and remember this mindset was announced on Twitter, so make sure to follow me there to keep up with future events or even tips to the next mindset killer. I also have a strong Discord community with great members, and if you enjoy games, memes, having fun with the community, feel free to join. Both the Twitter and Discord links will be down in the description. Enough of all that though, let's go ahead and just jump into the game. Starting a game with Deathslinger, it's very important you find a survivor fast. While this is true for all killers, the killers who have low map control such as Deathslinger make it all the more crucial. When spawning in the middle of the map, I like to give a quick look around the nearest gens, and I'm really looking for scratch marks or crows to dictate a survivor's location. I also make sure not to waste too much time looking, that way I can get back to the patrols on the current active gens that are not being affected by Corrupt. Yamako Estate is a pretty rough map, and this game's gen layout is just as brutal with no strong 3-gen to fall back on later in the game. Thankfully, Monitor Abuse will help us get much closer when patrolling compared to other killers because of Deathslinger's naturally low terror radius. Unfortunately, I get a bad layout for the main building as well with this massive wall giving survivors plenty of time to react. I could have attempted a quick shot at the doorway, but you have to be careful with shots when survivors are making their way to a loop, as missing it can give a survivor a ton more distance. Missing my own shot here allowed Dwight to actually get to this loop, so make sure to take an extra second and aim up that shot properly. If you don't have to shoot to hit a survivor, don't. I see a ton of newer Deathslinger players always looking for a shot when they could just go for a simple basic attack. Unlike Huntress, it's better to basic first, then shoot for the down when in melee with a survivor. I head back to the generator to damage it and get it regressing, but also a pop oppression to maybe get some idea of where the survivors are. Thankfully for me, survivors missed the skill check from oppression, giving me their locations. With Deathslinger's 16 meter terror radius from Monitor and Abuse and his ability to shoot up to 18 meters, it is possible to shoot a survivor without them knowing you're around, excluding perks like Spine Chill. While it can be tempting to continue with chase early in the game, it's more important to delay the first gens from getting completed and looking for easier downs that don't really require you to go out of your way. Making my way to Shack, I hear the generator is really going and that I'm not going to be able to stop it from being completed, so I want to cause as many injures or downs as I can. Deathslinger's Spear has a very small hitbox, so you would be surprised by the amount of things you can shoot through to hit survivors, so make sure to playtest around in your games. Playing around Shack can be pretty tricky, but there are plenty of shots you can make, such as the window here. You can aim down sight and line up where you believe the survivor will run as you moonwalk to the pallet. In order for the survivors to keep distance on you, they are going to risk running across. It'll take some time to get the timing down for a lot of the shots that Deathslinger can do, so don't get discouraged if you can't do some of them right away. Keeping survivors injured is very important as it makes them decide whether or not to pressure gens or take a moment to heal, that way not to be easily downed later. And since Deathslinger is pseudo stealth with his low terror radius, a majority of survivors will take a moment to heal, relieving some of the generator pressure off the killer. Dwight gets by shame by the rock and tree gap, and I have no shame adding some salt to that wound. I noticed a survivor trying to stab on my hook and take a swing to find out she also has dead hard. Thankfully though, she stayed close enough and understands the killer lifestyle, that way I get myself a free down. I make sure to use pop on the generator before taking her to a hook, that way I can get another pop ready for the next 45 seconds if there is any good value to be had. Something I should have done here is actually kept an eye on the hook Dwight to see if anyone was coming for him, that way I'd have some sort of information on where they went after the save. If only Dwight didn't bring a very red medkit, he might have stealthed his way right past me. I have two options here, either I look to try and down Dwight in main building, or I pressure the save Quentin is going for. Take the easiest route in these scenarios. Pressuring the save is a strong call as it guarantees a free hit with the potential to get down another survivor, or to snowball and down numerous survivors, which creates a large amount of pressure, and in rough maps that's exactly what you need. When looping with Deathslinger, you have to really know the distance between yourself and the survivor so you can turn a corner quickly to shoot and catch them before they ever get around the wall. This quick save is quite risky, but is also effective as it pulls me off of patrolling to the other generators in order to stop them from progressing, so I do have to make sure that I get it down at this moment to punish this altruistic play. Whenever playing at vault loops like this, always be on the lookout for a potential shot through the vault, as you can reel survivors to the said opening and actually hit them over that opening. A quick down like this helps mitigate some of the loss of the generator being popped, though there's most likely no way I was going to stop that generator from being completed, as it was quite the distance away. When playing with decent survivors, you really have to get your quick scope down, as the survivors will mostly be looking back at you in order to try and juke your incoming shot. By quick scoping, you're giving them almost no chance to dodge the shot, you just really have to focus on landing it. It can be extremely difficult when you're starting out with Deathslinger, but the more you play, the better your reflexes will come at landing those shots. And it may take a lot of time to get it down. When I first started working on Deathslinger, I had a hard time with it as well, which is actually one of the main reasons this rank 1 mindset took so much longer to get out, along with the amount of disconnects I actually had from salty survivors as I got better. So you will see that growth as you play more. Watch for fake outs with walls like this, and always be tracking survivors as if you have your guns with iron sights out. Before I see it in the comments, I typically never take save the best for last on Deathslinger, as his chase time really doesn't need much help, and his real weaknesses come from pressuring gens and the inability to slow the game down. If you want to replace oppression, I personally would recommend another slowdown perk such as Sloppy Butcher, Thanatophobia, or even Dying Light, which I've actually had quite a bit of success with. Moments like this can be tough because all the players that you can see right now have so much distance on you. There are a few things you can do in these scenarios that may help you out. One is just kicking the nearby gen to keep some pressure on the generator and to keep an eye on the survivors who are surrounding it. The other is to actually bait chasing one survivor to lure the other back to the generator, then turning around and trying to stay behind line of sight blockers such as the rocks to attempt to sneak up on the unsuspecting survivor. Of course, Survive with Friends on comms can counter this pretty easily. One thing you don't see me do a ton of this game is holding my iron sights out. Now, Deathslinger players will do this at times to make a survivor think that they're going to shoot and start dodging rather than gaining distance. Keep in mind, this also lowers Deathslinger's speed as well. It is pretty effective to do in open areas, but for the most part, the quick scope is the way to go to catch a survivor off guard. Unlike I do here, make sure to get the swing timing down to avoid the stun. Here I greeted it thinking I could get a quick down. While it was a nice shot, it didn't benefit me in any real way. At this point in the game, I have to be extremely careful with every chase I take. Because of the gen spread, it's very difficult to patrol already and to stop the gens from getting going. So I have to be smart with my chases and really double down on not getting into an extended chase. This is something that happens very often, and it's something that you want to make sure you avoid if possible. And after this hit here, the better play would actually have been to leave him alone and go to the survivors who are most likely on the corner generator. Now I do correct this mistake after the pallet drop by ignoring the teabagging and breaking chase. Don't get lulled into an elongated chase due to your mind not being able to handle a teabag. You have to have a strong mental fortitude in this game when you're playing killer. I head over and kick this generator in order to pop oppression to not only begin regressing, but to give the survivors a difficult skill check on the corner gen, which benefits as they miss that skill check and lose some progress that they had. I see the Dwight in the distance, but I don't want him to leave that vulnerable spot, so I follow Quinn for a brief moment before turning and beelining it straight to the Dwight. You know, I like to go over my own mistakes, and it's very easy to just say, hey, just shoot them as a tip for playing Deathslinger. But the real thing I believe you need to see is the distance gained and time wasted from missing a shot on a survivor who isn't staying out of loop. Thankfully, he misplayed it and took a long route into the open against the Deathslinger, giving me a second chance that I didn't pass up. But if he hadn't, he would have wasted an immense amount of more time due to my single misplay and my one missed shot. In moments where survivors or survive with friend groups are taking shots in order to sabo a hook, make sure to not only get in as many hits as you can, but also to locate another hook quickly, that way you can make your way there instead and waste their time back at the previous hook. While they are successful in saving their friend, I managed to down the other dweeb for the trade-off. Another route you can take in these kind of moments is to actually drop the survivor you're carrying and just start slugging survivors to generate pressure. This can be very effective in strong altruistic groups and can even lead to a huge snowball effect, winning the game entirely. Again, make sure to use pop if you have it ready and you've downed another survivor, that way you can get a second stack for it. This also will trigger oppression and begin regressing other generators if the survivors decide to heal. You can actually get a ton of value from it. It's actually one of the perks I've been playing a lot more with and enjoying pretty heavily. Loops like this are actually really solid for Deathslinger, as the majority of survivors feel safe on the other side of the pallet, but with these loops you can actually shoot a survivor, walk around with your chain attached, and swing at them at the last moment to hit them on the other side. Noticing the scratch marks, I decided to go for a big but needed play. By leaving Yui slugged, I can pressure the hook and look for numerous injuries or for a potential down. With plays like this, you are affecting all the survivors because I'm effectively chasing two here and forcing the other Dwight to come and try and save or heal the Yui. While after the shot he does manage to save her, I make sure to go ahead and assert some dominance before downing him for the last time this match. Getting a player out of the game is incredibly important as it lessens the amount of pressure the survivors will be able to generate on the gens. I prefer to have at least one survivor dead with 2 gens remaining, but the survivors this game are playing overall pretty well. With bad map layouts on Deathslinger, you are going to have to keep a real eye on the generators and try to make sure they are regressing at all times. Obviously not going for the ones who barely have a percent on them, but if they're about 20%, you better be kicking them to start that regression. Last thing you want is to leave a gen and all of a sudden have it pop off because, hint hint, there was a survivor who was hiding in the area. And of course, do your best to not miss a ton of shots. I know that's easier said than done, but remember, missing even a single shot is going to be time wasted on a killer who really can't afford it. When reeling in with the Deathslinger, make sure that you are walking backwards, as that is what pulls them to you and gives them less wiggle room. That way they can't get behind a tree, a rock, or any kind of obstacles. Also remember that survivors can move in front of the chain to try and break it. The chase time that Deathslinger can have is incredible. If you are on point, it is very possible to end a chase from a fully healed to a down survivor in about 15 seconds. These two downs right here are critical as it allows me the comfort in removing a player from the game without the fear of a generator popping, because the final player must decide whether to pop the gen, look for hatch, or come and save his friend Dwight. With Quinn being fully healed, I feel I will need more time in this game, and I opt to pop this nearby generator to buy that said time. This game is still really close as Dwight is leading me away from the generators. While I'd prefer not to chase here because I have a feeling Quinn may be working on the far corner generator, I have no real option as chasing the Dwight here is at least a guaranteed down rather than risking it and trying to protect the gens longer. It's just not worth the end. Sometimes you're going to eventually have to make the choice and just go for it. When you are shooting with the Deathslinger, you are almost always going to be aiming for the body or the butt of a survivor, since that is where there is less sway in the hitboxes. But if a survivor is using obstacles to block said shots, you can pop them in the head for an effective outplay shot. After downing Dwight, I go ahead and try to confirm Quinn on the corner generator, just to find out that I actually made the original right play and Quinn is not on that said generator. I personally never care for a 4K as slugging for it just takes a long period of time and makes the game draw out and can be kind of boring. So I always opt to go ahead and just hook the third player, even if the fourth player is going to go ahead and get the hatch afterwards. To me, it's still a win in my book, so I like it. Hope you guys look at it that way too. I'm always more excited about getting into the next game. Of course, when I go and hook the last survivor, I'm quite shocked when I hear that the last generator pops as Quinn finishes it. So it comes down to just the final one-on-one with him having a bit of a head start. But thankfully for me, I actually see crows fly off into the distance on that nearby hook, which allows me to see Quinn right away and snag an awesome window vault shot. And now it all comes down to just tracking him down and hoping he doesn't have hatch spawn right in front of him. As I get closer and closer, I notice that I hear something in the distance, and there it is, the hatch. I have one shot, one chance. I hit him, but it breaks off on the hatch. I can't tell you guys how bad that made me feel. Not because I take it as a loss, but man, I had it. I was right there. Oh man, that one crushed my soul just a little bit. But I still had a lot of fun with the game. So overall, GG's. It was a ton of fun. I love those clutch little moments at endgame. Just like that. I just wish it would have reeled him back. That way he got to feel the whole pain the whole way. But that's not how it goes sometimes. I hope this video was not only entertaining but also helpful to those of you who are looking to improve or pick up Deathslinger. He's a ton of fun and rewarding killer to learn and master. If you are a Deathslinger main and feel I missed something or have tips for the newer players in the community, make sure to leave it in the comment section below. Other than that, I hope you land some wicked shots in your future Deathslinger games, and until next time, I'm Red, and I'm signing off. Come on.